I'm Vanessa and welcome to the Lunar Review. Today I'm talking about Sagittarius. Sagittarius is yang, it's a fire sign, and it's mutable. So in general, Sagittarius is extroverted, social, freedom-loving, loves to explore, is very philosophical. And because it's yang, and yang means that it's masculine, and the counterpart of yang is yin, and yin is feminine, and these are the two forces that create everything in the world, and they are constantly seeking balance. So being yang, the direction of yang is up and out, and it's a very self-propelling energy. So for Sagittarius, they love to get up and get out. They love to explore. They like to actually look up too. They look up for direction and possibilities. And when you look up into the sky, what do we say? The sky's the limit. So Sagittarius sees an infinite amount of possibilities. And when Sagittarius comes of age and they can leave home, they do so joyfully. They go out and they seek the path that is least familiar. So they always want to seek out the new and the novel. So this means traveling far, really far, not just, going in the neighborhood or even their own country, but they want to go across the globe, over the seas. They want to be the foreigner in a foreign land. And this also can mean that they travel in their mind as well. If it's not literally traveling, then they will do so in their mind and they will expand their mind. And they'll do this through classes, books, conversations with people, debate. They love a good, lively debate. And because they're young, they will want to spread these ideas. Once they have mastered it and they feel confident about it, and they've really taken it in, then they'll want to share the wealth. Then they'll want other people to benefit from what they know. And this is why they're the sign of the guru, the teacher, the professor, the counselor. And as yang is a very active, energetic energy, and it wants to engage, they will always be able to promote what they know very well. They can be really amped up and they can be very persuasive and very eloquent in their arguments. Sagittarius is a fire sign, and all the fire signs share some general characteristics. Okay, so they all are passionate. They represent the life force. They're very spirited. They are the divine spark within all of us. Their instincts are on point, and the intuition is very developed. And especially for Sagittarius, I would say their intuition is sky high, and it's why they can think on such a grand level. It's why their thoughts can reach these really high, lofty levels. It's because they're blending intuition in with all of it. And I was thinking how fire is a very interesting element in general, because fire has to be pure yang. Yang is hot and yin is cold. And if fire isn't hot and burning, then it's not fire. But when you have air, earth, and water, they can all be either hot or cold. Water can be steam or ice. Earth can be hot and baked or frozen tundra. And air can be hot or cold. So I just think it's very interesting that yang, that fire has to be pure yang. Aries is like dynamite, and that can just blow through anything. It can blow through rock. Aries is represented by the ram, and the ram uses its head to just literally ram through anything. And that I think really describes Aries quite well. It's the first sign to manifest in the zodiac. Then we have Leo, which is represented by a spotlight. And I think it's just a perfect metaphor for Leo, because Leo likes to be in the spotlight. They like to be in charge, in control. They like to be adored. So when you're watching a stage and you're watching a play, but it hasn't begun yet, and all of a sudden the curtains open and the spotlight comes on, and that's where your eyes go to. That's automatically where your attention is diverted to. And then we have Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is like they're like fireworks. And fireworks are done usually for very special occasions. It's a big deal to put on a firework display. And it's a momentary elevation. It's a little respite from the ordinary. And it happens so high in the sky that many people can view the fireworks. And this is great as a metaphor because Sagittarius wants to affect the whole and society. They're not just about developing the ego and their own personal relationships. They are represented by the ninth house of the zodiac. So it's at the second half of life. And this part of the zodiac from houses 7 to 12 represents your relationship to the whole, to society, to the world. Whereas houses 1 through 6 are more about personal development. Sagittarius is a mutable sign. And in astrology, a mutable sign is one that occurs at the end of a season, and things are changing, things are massively in flux, and it means at the end of that sign, a new season will be initiated. So in this case, Sagittarius is at the end of fall, and as soon as it ends, we enter Capricorn and we enter winter. So being mutable, Sagittarius loves to get around. They love to migrate, mix and mingle. This is the sign of freedom, pure freedom. They love, adore, and need their freedom. They need their elbow room, they need space, they need air. You know, fire can't exist without air. Sagittarius is very goal-oriented. And when they do head out on their adventure, they will know the general direction that they're headed, but being a mutable sign, they are flexible in the route that they're going to take. That, okay, they have their larger goal in mind, but they're going to welcome those surprises and detours, and they're always going to want to keep things lively and fresh. So they're not going to accept stagnation, they're not going to accept boredom, and they're going to leave some room for spontaneity, which is really important because spontaneity is one of the ways that the divine communicates with us. This is how intuition works, is that information comes spontaneously, instantaneously, without thinking, without logic, and often unbidden. The symbol for Sagittarius is the archer, but this is no ordinary archer. This is a centaur. So the centaur is half man, half beast. The lower half is a horse. The upper half is a man. From the torso up, Sagittarius is all man, but from the bottom down, he's got 4 hooves, they're on the ground, and even his manhood is part horse. So he's got his bow and his arrow, and he's clearly aiming at something, and he's ready to let this arrow fly. And when this arrow does fly, it will leave his field of vision. Literally will leave it. But figuratively, it will never leave it. And I would say that the arrow represents his ideals and his principles, and that these things will never be abandoned, that they will only be expanded and will only grow, but will never be lost. The only way I could see Sag being lost is if Sagittarius becomes too arrogant or just too wrapped up in their own sort of high-born world and lose connection with reality. That, in theory, what they have to say sounds great, but they can't actually apply it in any practical way. But basically, Sagittarius has a faith in a source of power that is really outside of our human understanding, but completely within our realm of human experience. That they can tap into that intangible, untraceable source of knowing and wisdom. So the downside to Sagittarius is that they can be prone to hyperbole, exaggeration, a distortion of the truth, maybe just an out-and-out lie. And they might do this just to fatten up a story, make it juicier. It could be, an innocent intention. They just want to make sure that everyone wants to hear their story. But while their tale might sound more exciting, they might lose points in the honesty department. They can be very blunt, honest to a fault, you could say. So they could actually say something hurtful without intending to, no filter on what's coming out, because they are so prone to telling the truth and seeking the truth that that's what's going to come out is the truth, whether it hurts your feelings or not. And I think that sometimes that they can actually intentionally push some buttons as well. that they know what they're doing. They know what they're saying is going to be incendiary or start a debate or could even be hurtful, but they might feign innocence, but they know exactly what they're doing. And also at times they can become, being very fiery and mutable, so just fire all over the place, that they can become, overexcited about an idea or a project and become discombobulated, disorganized, and, could end up overextending themselves and burning out. We can understand more about the sign of Sagittarius by looking at its polar opposite sign, which is Gemini. So Gemini is a mutable air sign. Gemini questions everything. And like Sagittarius, is infinitely curious, loves freedom, loves learning, they love bouncing ideas around. But for Gemini, ideas are just for ideas' sake. It's just for the fun of it. They like to investigate them, distort them, try them out, turn them inside out, squish them up, throw them on the wall, see if they stick. So for Gemini, it's not about believing, liking, or even living by their ideals and their ideas. That they are more like a reporter. They just want to look at things very objectively and just the facts. So they can miss the larger picture and get a little bit lost in the details. Whereas Sagittarius likes to see the higher philosophical view. They can suss out those, universal truths, those truths that are true no matter what age you're living in or what culture you're living in. So Sag is less interested in the details and mundane events, that they represent the higher truth and the higher education. They're going for the graduate degrees, their doctorate degrees, they're going to be professors. And I would say that if a Gemini is going to India, they'll stay with an Indian family and they'll just be enamored by the fact that, every day the women wear these beautiful, colorful saris and they wear all these gold bangles and jewelry and they cook hot, spicy food and you eat with your hands while sitting on the floor, and you put little flowers by the Ganesh statue every day, little flowers and candles. And Sagittarius would go to India and go on a pilgrimage. They would walk barefoot in the rain for 10 hours up the Himalayas, up a path, and go to the highest Shiva temple in the world. And there they would discourse and speak and learn with all these different Hindu sadhus. And so when they come back, they're no longer eating beef and they're, an expert on the Hindu religion. So you could say Gemini would be a great tour guide for India, and Sag would probably come back as a guru after living in India. Sagittarius follows on the heels of Scorpio, and in Scorpio season we explored darker themes like trust and betrayal, and how do you learn about trust? It's by experiencing its opposite. So there may have been intense relationships, battles for power. In Scorpio, there's a deep need to transform. And paradoxically, this is done by holding on and resisting change and calcifying, so that eventually there's a crack, a shatter, and everything changes for the better. Scorpio also represents our trip to the underworld, where there are challenges. It's the antithesis of life. You learn what you're made of and what you're capable of and your highest potential. But there's no light there. The food's bad. The locals are grouchy. It's hard to get out. It's just not a place that you want to dwell for too long. So in Sagittarius, the energy is released from the underworld. It's released from this contraction and captivity. So Sagittarius is much lighter, more joyful, very optimistic. It sees the light. And it was like as if all that compressed passion and raw emotion from Scorpio just came flying up and explodes in Sagittarius and comes out as fireworks. And, to really see and appreciate fireworks, well, we need lots of space in the sky, and we also need for it to be nighttime. Sagittarius is a yang sign that occurs during a yin time of year. You know, it's the end of autumn, winter's almost there. In a lot of places, it might even be winter weather. So it takes a tremendous amount of energy for Sag to, you know, uplift themselves and just display all those wonderful traits that they have, especially when you look outside. It's cold, it's dark, it's barren. It's snowing here. It's our first snow of the year. You know, it's barren out there. So Sagittarius is constantly in a close relation to the darkness. You could say it's even battling it. But yet Sag manages to maintain interest in all those lofty, wonderful things that can really only be indulged in when your survival and your welfare are taken care of. But yet it's a really perilous time of the year. It's a slowdown in nature. So for Sagittarius, when their fire does succumb to the deep, dark yin of winter or almost winter, it can be very distressing and very depressing for them. And at that point, they will need to take a hiatus, take a little break, recharge the batteries, and, you know, take advantage of the winter yin, you know, to go within, maybe cozy up under the blankets, get near a fire, but do what they need to revitalize themselves so that their fire can spark up again, because they will always reignite. They might go out, but they will reignite again, and they will be inspired once again. They'll seek adventure, they'll gamble, they'll take risk, and they'll know that another lucky streak always awaits them. Well, I hope you enjoyed this talk. If you would like a reading with me, please go to my website, thelunarreview.com. And as always, enjoy Sagittarius season, and I'll be back again. Take care.